Hello everyone and welcome back to the Final Chicane with me, Kristen Boylan. Hey everyone and welcome to the first race review of the season, the Australian Grand Prix. A long time coming, but we have a lot to talk about today about the Australian Grand Prix. A lot to talk about, even if it was at 4 a.m. Should we start with the Final Chicane Brain Game? If this is your first episode of the season and you're here last year, this is basically the riddle of the week, but it's not always going to be a riddle. It's going to be some form of brain game. That's why the Final Chicane Brain Game, and it rhymes because this is the Final Chicane. Anyway, let's do this. For this week's brain game, basically I'm going to give you a scenario that happened and you have to tell me basically what happened next, or basically what happened. It's basically just a quiz, honestly. So, the scenario. 2009, we're in. How many of you were watching Formula 1 back in 2009? I wasn't. I was 7. But we're at the 2009 German Grand Prix, and Kimi Räikkönen, had a disastrous pit stop. But why? What went wrong? So I'm going to give you 3 options. And if you don't want to hear the options because you just want to see if you can get it right without them, that's fine. You can mute me for the next 30 seconds. Okay, so did they put on a wrong tyre during his pit stop? Did he stop in the wrong pit box? Or was the tyre put on loose and it rolled off before he even got to the end of the pit straight? So which one of those is true? Which one of those happened? And I'll tell you the answer at the end of today's episode. So comment that below. That was this week's The Final Chicane Brain Game. I sort of think I slayed with that name. No? Yeah, I did. I don't care what you think. Anyway, let's get to the gossip grid, the XOXO gossip grid of this week. First of all, happy St. Patrick's Day to all of my Irish listeners. I don't know how many Irish listeners I have, but you're iconic. Thank you for supporting me. So yeah, happy St. Patrick's Day today. I'm filming this the day before, but it will be released tomorrow, I need to enjoy my St. Patrick's Day, obviously. But yeah, if any brands out there are looking for an Irish Formula 1 content creator, I am here. I'm here. And if Formula 1 wants to come to Ireland at any point, I'll organise it myself. I've said this before, I'll host it in my garden. I don't mind. I have a lane. It's stones, but that would make things interesting, Can we get Formula 1 in Ireland a bit more? Anyway, let's go to the gossip grid this time. Most gossip moments. My favourite moment of the weekend, actually, was Max and Daniel playing paddle together. Daniel was in Melbourne because he released his Australian Rosé, the wine rosé, and he had this planned since even before the last Melbourne Grand Prix. So that's actually heartbreaking because he thought he would be racing when this happened. He had a bit of a stand, like a pop-up thing at the Grand Prix as well, which was actually really cool and really iconic and really well done. So whether that was Daniel's idea or whoever his creative team is for Australian are doing a great job. But yeah, he was in Melbourne just for the week. I think he left on Friday, so he got out of there and hopped back on a plane to Perth before the actual racing began, which I completely respect. But yeah, him and Max played paddle together, and I think that's just what I needed this week. Like Daniel to still be besties with his Formula 1 bestie. He's quite silent on social media, so that was important to me. I don't know how we even saw that. I just saw the pictures on Instagram. But yeah, it was important anyway. Also, I don't drink wine, but as soon as I figure out how to buy Australian Rosé, I'm gonna, because it looks nice. I feel like if I was gonna drink any wine, it would be rosé. What else? Drive to Survive came out since the last time we saw each other. I didn't love Drive to Survive this season. I think the more and more I know about Formula 1, and the more because I was paying attention to every little detail, obviously last year with the podcast, because I need to. This is an unpaid job for me, basically. And I think all of that, I mean, I thought Daniel's episode was awful. I didn't enjoy Daniel's episode at all. I thought they completely twisted it. There was way too much Christian Horner, first of all, throughout the entire season. They almost had this like redemption arc for him, as if, oh, poor Christian, all this negative media attention, but that negative media attention was there for a reason. He still did whatever he did, but we saw the texts, and he has a wife, and that's enough for me. But yeah, I think that we definitely didn't need that redemption from Christian Horner. We just didn't need much Christian Horner at all. For some reason, they framed that Daniel's whole firing happened at Silverstone when it was Singapore. They were like showing clips with Daniel with his beard. And I'm like, girl, he didn't even have that in Silverstone. And then the whole Max is so evil and Lando just loves puppies was so funny. Like, how are they doing that? But it's just because I know a lot about Formula One and I've seen everything that they're going to show, but I still think that the way that they do it is quite good for getting new fans in, and I respect it, to be honest, but it's not for like diehard Formula One fans, Drive to Survive, and that's okay. It doesn't need to be for me, because I watch the season, so if it's going to bring in more Formula One fans, that's okay. I respect that. I mean, the first race of the season, obviously we're seeing everyone properly fit in with their teams. I think Carlos suits Williams perfectly. He looks great, to be fair. Oscar got a contract extension at his home race, which was nice for Oscar. I'm sure that was a dagger to Red Bull, who mentioned that they would rather Oscar over Lando in Drive to Survive this year. But yeah, I think Oscar was absolutely right to stay with McLaren. His extension was a multi-year extension, so 2027 plus. Don't know how long it is again. They're using multi a lot more than usual. And then obviously the first weekend with the rookies. Now, who are we labeling as a rookie? Because I don't know if I would label Liam Lawson as a rookie, because he's been in 2 separate seasons now. This is his 3rd season, even though he hasn't had a full season through. I don't know, but he is being labelled a rookie with F1. So I don't know if I said in the last episode that I wasn't going to label him as a rookie, but I will, because Formula One are, I guess. But okay, so he's a rookie. Also, on the same like vibes as Carlos, Lewis just seems fit into Ferrari so well already. It just suits him, you know. The red suits Lewis, the navy suits Carlos. The vibes of the teams just suit. I just think there's good vibes this season, which I like. Sorry, backtracking to the rookies as well. Helmut had quite a bit to say about them. Helmut always somehow has something to say about everyone. There seems to be just a microphone in front of him at all times, and he was quite harsh, particularly about Jack Doohan and Gabrielle. He was like labeling them into classes, like A class being, you know, a good rookie, and C class being not a good rookie, not thinking they'll last a season in Formula One. So he labelled Jack as C class, I believe, and Gabrielle as B, I think. And Gabrielle's response was quite a good response, I think. Basically, you know, he'll prove it that he's a better rookie than people think he is. And he also said that Helmut has put a lot of wrong guys into F1, so basically saying his opinion isn't, you know, the end of the world if Helmut doesn't like him. And I agree. I don't think Red Bull always get their drivers right. I've said that as well. I think Yuki absolutely should be in that Red Bull seat this year, but I'm sort of glad he isn't, because I think Yuki needs to move on to a team that appreciates him. And Red Bull just aren't it for him, I think. Zach Brown also said something similar about Red Bull. So I think that just seems to be a thought around the grid, that Red Bull don't have the best choice in drivers. They did in Max, obviously. They have basically been trying to replace 2018 Daniel, and they can't. They've tried like the grid now. But Lawson may be that replacement. There's 23 races left to decide that. We'll talk about Lawson a bit more later. Lewis joins TikTok. Oh, he released that Back to the Future thing, which was so random, but I respect it. Stefano Domenicali continues until 29, I think. We have a lot of media moments today, don't we? So much happened. Ooh, something I really am happy is Lissy McIntosh joins Sky. So she started as a Formula One creator. Now she's joining Sky. I think she stepped a little bit away from Formula One last year. She was doing a lot more with F1 Academy and Formula E, was it? And like NFL or something, I don't know. But I'm excited for her. Obviously, Lizzie McIntosh is literally just living my dream. And I respect it, honestly. She deserves it. She's great. I met her in Silverstone at my first Grand Prix, and she interviewed us, and she was just such good vibes. You'll hear a lot of people talk negatively about Lissy because she dated like an IndyCar driver, and people just tend to be jealous of that and the success that she has. There's a lot of made up stories going on about her online, but you need to put your thinking caps on and not fall for stuff like that. Like one person creates a story and then, the world runs with it because they're bored, I guess. So I think everyone just needs to take a moment and not be so quick to judge and believe rumors. Jonathan Wheatley becomes team principal for Stake from April the 1st, so not yet. He was the Red Bull sporting director, so I don't know if that was, like, I didn't know that was happening. I didn't know that was a thing until it was announced, so I don't know if that's something I just missed out on, but good for him. And finally, that was a lot of meaty moments, eh? Finally, Cadillac are confirmed to be joining the grid, making the 11th team. I thought it was already confirmed, but now it's confirmed. So I guess it wasn't already confirmed. I don't know. But I'm excited for them. Who do you think, or who do you want? Want is more fun to join Cadillac. I want Daniel back. I don't know if I want Daniel back, actually. I want Daniel back in the paddock, but somewhere where I don't have to see him depressed. Cadillac, I want Seb back as well. Okay, I'm going to pick Daniel and Seb. Yeah. That's not who I think. That's just who I want. But they don't scream Cadillac to me either. Well, Daniel, Seb, not so much. Ooh, you know what? I was at Mondello, so the Irish listeners might know what that is. It's in Kildare. It's a racetrack. And I was there for my first time ever. I don't know how, I've never been to Mondello before, but this woman who works there, I think she was trying to get some content creators to go and to promote it a bit, which is so necessary. And I didn't even know that event was on. It was an International Women's Day event, and it was so much fun. It was so much fun there. It's not too busy, which I like, but then again, also we're trying to make it more busy. Yeah, it's just such good vibes. If the sun is shining, you will actually have such a good day out there. There was Rally Cross on. I made a TikTok and I just said rally because I don't know what rally, like I don't know anything about rally or Rally Cross. And then everyone was like, girl, what are you talking about? It's not, everyone was making fun of me. I'm like, I'm trying to promote Irish motorsport here, okay? I'll need some time to learn what that is and who the drivers are. But I really want to have more of a focus on Irish motorsport and help promote it a bit. So I'm hoping to go to Mondello quite a few more times this year. I think there's something on in June, potentially, that if I'm around, I will go to. But yeah, it was the Mondello Rally Cars Supercars round 5 on the Saturday and round 6. And it was quite entertaining to watch. They had like the buggies. They were my favourite, the buggy cars. That was a fun race. Made me really want Formula 1 in Ireland even more. I feel like I say that nearly every episode now, but I do. Let's talk about the actual racing we're here to talk about, though. The Australian Grand Prix. First free practice of the season. I did get up. I did make a TikTok about it because I think it's probably more important that I make TikToks about the ones that are on sort of odd times, because I definitely have more of a European following on TikTok. First of all, I don't love the graphics. Just the writing. I don't know why we need the cursive. Like Liam Lawson. Like, I don't like that. It's just a little thing and it makes no difference whatsoever, but that's the first note I have here. I don't like the graphics. What I do like though is the LVMH whole sponsorship with the Louis Vuitton like graphics there. I really like Louis Vuitton, funny enough. And I think it just fits in perfectly. So obviously there's a lot of brands under LVMH. What is it? Louis Vuitton Moet, Hennessy, something like that. And yeah, I think it's going to be an exciting year with that sponsor this year. Ollie Behrman, not a great start to his season. He hit the wall in free practice 1. These people are still finding the limits of their cars, so I'm not going to judge the rookies yet. Some of them are really impressive, some of them not so impressive, or not as impressive as people thought. But yeah, Ollie Behrman definitely not a successful weekend at all. And yeah, again, not too much to see from free practice at all. It was just nice to watch the cars go around. To be honest, I was just sort of like half asleep just because I wanted to listen to the cars. But it was nice, and Australia is always one of my favourite tracks, and I'm putting it into existence that one day I will be at the Australian Grand Prix. Don't know when that is. I've never been to Australia before, and I don't think I'll be able to afford to go anytime soon. But if I put it into existence, maybe it will happen. Qualifying. What time was qualifying at? It was early. And Behrman's weekend went from bad to way worse because he had a gearbox issue within the first, like it could have been the first 30 seconds of qualifying, and he had to retire the car. It was definitely in the first minute. So that was just a disaster. Nothing he could do. It was a gearbox issue, obviously, his crash in FP1, and the free practice sessions didn't really help it. Liam Lawson was probably the other disappointment from qualifying. He had a very, very messy lap. His lap before that wasn't great either. But yeah, he was going wide, then he went off, and he would have lost that lap time anyway, but it wasn't a fast enough lap time, so he was out in Q1. He had quite a poor weekend, and yeah, I feel for him because obviously he has so much pressure on him being put straight into the Red Bull alongside the world champion. Like, anything that he's doing is being compared to Max out of everyone, so it's always going to look a bit rough for him. But yeah, he was quite a long way off the pace this weekend. All the times were improving significantly towards the end of Q1. Doohan actually had a really good lap. Hulk P16, Ocon P19, Antonelli P16. But yeah, at the end of Q1 we lost Antonelli a P16, which honestly good effort for your first qualifying. Hulk, Lawson, Ocon and Behrman with the Haas seeming to be leading at the back. So that is something Haas are going to want to not happen, actually, because Stake, who I think I sort of assumed would be at the back this year, are... So Q2, we saw a yellow flag for Lewis, and unfortunately that yellow flag ruined some laps, particularly Jack Doohan's lap, and he then was out. Hajar as well, who I haven't talked about yet, he's actually rapidly becoming one of my favourite rookies. His vibes are immaculate. He just missed out though, but it was a really great effort for him to get into Q2, so I think that's something that he should definitely be proud of. So Q2 we lost Hajar, Alonso, Stroll, Doohan and Bortoleto. Aston Martin not looking too great this year already, I think. Alonso had quite a poor weekend. Obviously, he didn't finish the race. But to, qualify the Aston Martins was quite good for Hajar. Just qualifying one place outside of the points. Norris was very consistent this weekend, actually. He was quite the treat to watch. I envy the diehard Lando fans because I have a feeling this season might not be as painful as maybe last season. Okay, so Q3, then the home hero, who I actually haven't talked about for some reason, Piastri, he had a little bit of a moment, which wasn't great. Piastri, oh, I'll talk about Piastri later when we're actually talking about the race, but that was actually heartbreaking. Norris loses his lap time, which could have been detrimental. It wasn't in the end because he's in the McLaren and he's Lando Norris and he drives that car, so he recovered quite well. Mercedes, McLaren, Ferrari, they were all looking extremely strong, I think, in Q3, and I think that's going to be the case for the rest of the season. I just love how close they all are this season. Like, it could actually, like, at this point, it could be anyone's game for P2 because I think McLaren are running away with P1. To be fair, I thought Max was going to actually take qualifying because he had an insane lap quite early into Q3. Norris just went faster eventually. The McLarens were just on another level. Then Piastri got provisional pole. That reminded me of like how excited the crowd were. Remember when Daniel got provisional pole at Australia, and then I think Lewis then took it off him, and that's what happened with Lando then taking it off him. Obviously needed to be done because you're not just going to slow down to let the home hero get pole. But yeah, Lando had an incredible lap. Russell P2, again, he sort of went under the radar this weekend, but that's not always a bad thing because he just had a clean, fast weekend, and I think that's pretty good. And Max P3. And then comes, I think, the most exciting part of qualifying. Albon P4, Tsunoda P5, Leclerc P7, Hamilton P8, Gasly P9, Sainz P10. First of all, an incredible job from Williams. Unreal, Carlos and Alex. Alex particularly had a lot to prove and will have a lot to prove in the coming races because obviously I think people are probably expecting Carlos as past Ferrari driver and race winner to be that level ahead of Albon, but Albon proved that that might not be the case. Plenty of races to go for Carlos, though. Carlos as well had a really great weekend for his first time driving that Williams as well. And out of everyone, I think the next person who has a lot to prove, even to other people, would be Yuki, and he definitely did that. Obviously, he didn't get the Red Bull seat. It is more than likely going to be his last season. With the departure of Honda, it's likely Yuki will leave the Red Bull family, which I don't think is the worst thing because he wasn't improving there anyway. He's driving incredibly. He deserved the Red Bull seat this year and he didn't get it. I still don't quite understand why he didn't get it. I think their excuse was, he's not consistent enough or something, but I don't think any of the options that were placed above him were any more consistent than Yuki. He deserved the Red Bull seat more than Daniel did, and that's saying something from me because Daniel, I have him up there. You can't see him, but out of frame for a reason. So yeah, Yuki had an incredible session, and I think it's the confidence boost that he needed for the season to show what he's made of and to quiet the haters, I guess. So well done, Yuki. My qualifier of the day for that one. And also Hajar being so happy for Yuki. They're going to be my favourite teammate pairing, I think. I hope. Unless it all turns out bad. With my whole journey for Irish motorsport, I was like determined to get to be awake for the F2 race, the feature race. It was only at 12:30 a.m. But when you have to be up for 4 a.m., that's quite a lack of sleep. But the race got cancelled in the end. I'll still make a TikTok sort of discussing Alex Dunn's weekend if anyone is interested. Most of my Irish motorsport promotion is going to be on TikTok, so I do recommend that if you want that, you follow me on TikTok. It's just my name, Kristen Boylan X, so X at the end, and I post daily there, F1 content. So if you have TikTok, I think we should hang out over there. Let's talk about the actual Grand Prix now. It's only 1 p.m. now, so the race didn't end all that long ago. What time did it end? Like 6? Yeah, quite a calm race. Nothing really happened at the start. We definitely didn't lose a car on the formation lap. Like I was done when that happened. My heart is broke for Hajar. He was so upset. He was crying. Anthony Hamilton, being the best man ever, apparently, came to comfort him, and especially I know that would meant, and I know especially that would mean a lot to Hajar because he's the biggest Lewis fan. Like he got a selfie with Lewis this weekend as well. Like it's just so cute, and obviously, especially being in the Red Bull family, as intense as that is, and I'm sure Helmut is probably running his mouth as we speak, dissing him in the media. All I wanted was for him to have a good weekend after that good qualifying. I know it was just P11, but that's good for his first qualifying in the Visa Cash App or B Racing Bulls, Visa Cash App Racing Bulls. I believe it's not or B anymore, it's actually Racing Bulls. So yeah, it's pretty heartbroken for Hajar, but hopefully he felt better seeing the masses of other DNFs that there were. The crashes almost do look silly. Like it does look like the car just decides to go like that. It's just, and as Hajar was saying, it's just something that when it happens, there's absolutely nothing he could have done to stop that from happening. Obviously, whatever it was, obviously he didn't have that control over the vehicle, but once it's going to crash, there's nothing you can do to stop it crashing. So at that point, you just have to hope for as little damage as possible. And he was devastated in his post-race interview as well, or his post-race. I'm sure that was taken probably in the middle of the race since he was out at the very start. But hopefully he's feeling okay now. And then rookie number 2, we lost Jack Doohan. If there was one rookie this weekend that I would have chose to have a good weekend, and not just because he's Australian, it would be Jack Doohan, but because of the hate that he's already getting and the pressure on him to be replaced by Franco Colapinto must be so intense, especially for his first season. He's not even gotten a chance to prove himself and people are already trying to replace him. So hopefully Alpine were a little nicer to him. Again, a very unexpected spin which caused a safety car, and then under the safety car we lost a not so rookie Carlos Sainz in his first race from Williams, obviously ending on lap 2 or something like that. He crashed under safety car. He just lost the rear again. These sort of crashes just look silly, but they're just like, they're unstoppable. They happen. It doesn't matter how much years of experience you have. If you lose even the slightest bit of control with the car, that's your race ended in the rain, and that's just what happened. So hopefully the rookies feel less bad when someone with the talent of Carlos Sainz is also making that mistake. Like, it doesn't matter how fast or slow you're going. Obviously, I don't think it's any more embarrassing that Hajar's happened on the formation lap and Carlos happened under safety car, because it's just the traction and the rain and it's very easy to happen. So don't be writing off anyone yet. Safety car then ended around lap 7, so 7 out of 57. Obviously, with the extra formation lap, the race decreased by a lap. And then the infringement started, which I think were all let go until Bortoleto. Because Alonso had a safety car infringement, and Tsunoda, I think it was that they had left too much space, and that was let go. Probably because of the rain and the wet track and everything. I didn't look too much into that, but I'm sure that was fine for it to be let go. I believe they left more than 10 car lengths, so that's what that was for. Kimi also had a very near miss there. But what made that even more impressive was his save. He saved that really well, and he was definitely the most impressive rookie of the weekend. He didn't have the greatest qualifying, so for him to have such a good race was so nice to see. Kimi is just like, he's just such good vibes. I'm excited for Kimi's future in Formula One, and I think it will be, I hope it will be a long one anyway. Did you see the video of how distraught Max looked when he was talking? Oh my god, there's a pheasant in my garden. How distraught Max looked when he was talking to Kimi during the driver's parade, and then they took Kimi away and he had no one. He was just left alone. That was so cute. But yeah, the rookies seem to be fitting in really well. Everyone seems to like the rookies. And that's not a surprise. The rookies they all seem really great vibes this year. Max with his little mistake near the start, which let Lando by again, and Kimi as well. When I think he was maybe the first person to make an overtake in that race, and he made it twice on Hook. He made a mistake, he lost it, and then he made the same overtake again, that even the commentators thought it was just a replay, and that was very impressive from him, especially because we know how impressive Hook is. He's great defensive driving as well, so Kimi was just on it today. You would never know he was a rookie if you didn't know, but we do know, because we know. Albon and Hamilton were also under investigation. Again, don't think no further action was for any of that. Ugh, the Ferrari radio message, what was it? That Charles was saying that there was a lot of water in his seat, which I assumed would be the rain, but I don't think it was that. And he said, oh yeah, there's so much water in my seat. And then Ferrari's reply was, okay, maybe it's the water, which just sounded so funny. Charles was like, okay, let's add that to your words of wisdom. Obviously, I'm guessing he meant the drink bottle. Like, I understand what he meant, but it's just, Ferrari just say the funniest thing on radios, and the drivers seem to get fed up with their engineers all the time. Both Lewis and Charles were just asking their engineers to stop talking. Maybe that's Ferrari's way of giving as much information as possible, and that's not Charles and Lewis's way of receiving information. They don't need that much information. It overwhelms their brain, maybe. There's a few drivers like that on the grid, and then some drivers like to have all the information that they can. So that's just something that they'll have to get used to, both drivers and the team. Gonna have to just change stuff. Gonna have to just adjust to each other. Lap 30. And then the first McLaren sort of potential tension. It didn't actually turn out to be tension, which was nice. Started around lap 30 with Piastri wanting to overtake Lando. He was told to hold position, and he said, okay, but I'm faster, which at that point he did appear to be faster, but quite quickly Lando did pick up the pace, and they were allowed to fight again, but Piastri did not get past Lando. It made sense for them not to be able to fight when they were catching up with the behind the pack Haas's and Liam Lawson, I think, from a team perspective. But I'm glad that McLaren did let them fight at the end, especially for the Australian Grand Prix. Piastri did deserve the chance to be able to fight for that win, and he was driving really, really well. So yeah, it was lap 33 that I think the field was lapped up until Lawson, so I think that was probably the last three cars, both Haas's and Lawson. So with a lot of safety car as well at the start, that just shows how fast, that huge gap, I guess, because there's quite a big gap from where Liam was, and then from the McLaren, because the McLaren is just on another level. And then just as they were lapped, Alonso hits the wall at lap 34. He wasn't lapped, but just as the other cars were lapped, you know what I mean. He hit the wall, and safety car, obviously. Like, Alonso's the most experienced driver on the grid, and he is still hitting the wall. These mistakes happen. Let's not be mean to the rookies who hit the wall. We have to give them a chance, and that's what I do on my podcast. So, no judging. There's 23 races to go, and if Alonso hits the wall, Hadjar, Doohan, they can hit the wall too. And Carlos, of course. Also, you know what? I feel like if I was a rookie, I would be like a little relieved to get my first like DNF out of the way. Like, not that means that they won't DNF, but like they experience that, you know? I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but no, I do know what I'm trying to say. That is what I'm trying to say. So if you don't understand, that's not on me. So yeah, obviously during this period, the cars started to pits. Was it Max on mediums? I think the McLaren stayed on hards. And then also the incident in the pits, which nearly took Liam out, was between Liam and Bortoleto. Stake just let him out at the wrong time, and rightfully so, he did get a penalty for that because that was quite dangerous and could have ruined. Well, Lawson didn't have much of a race, but so Bortoleto did get a penalty for that. The part that I didn't like, again, the lorry on the track, just don't risk it. I feel just don't risk it in the rain, because you'll all be like, oh no, it's safe until something happens. And when something happens, it's too late. So there's no point even risking it. Just red flag it, put them in the pits, or, well, I don't know. Just put them in the pits. Red flag it. Don't have them driving in the rain with a lorry on track when you see so many people going off for no reason. Like, just like that. So, something I'm not happy about with the FIA for that. Other than that, I think they judged the race quite well. I'll talk about the Kimi thing later, but yeah, that's something that I didn't love. And then Behrman coming out of the pits, nearly taking Max out. I thought that he wouldn't be allowed to unlap himself, but he was again, so he unlapped himself twice, because he unlapped himself, pitted, and then was back in the middle of the cars, like in front of Max. So he needed to unlap himself again, and I'm glad he did, because that would have been messy. And the safety car then ended lap 41. So a lot of this race was under safety car. Not a single red flag though, which was a little confusing. And then they were all expecting the rain, which did come. It started from class 1 to class 2. It's either class 1 and class 2, McLaren were saying, and then I think it was Ferrari who were saying that no, it's going to be class 3, and I'm pretty sure class 3 rain was right. Sonoda at this point made his way, and there was a lot of kerfuffle about tyres and when to box and everything. Some teams got it right, some teams didn't get it right. McLaren were luckily fine after that, and there's a lot of discussion going on, but they seemed to get it right. And that's when Sonoda got past Leclerc to 5th, and then Oscar and Lando both had a little moment. They both went off sort of at a similar place, but then when Oscar was moving back onto the track, he lost the car again and went into the grass and lost his second place. Nearly took Max out. Max was just getting targeted during this race, but that was heartbroken. They kept showing Lando's mom, and I was sort of glad that it wasn't Oscar's mom they were showing, because that would have been so sad. I know Oscar's mom, like Oscar's family, was there following his sister Hattie on TikTok, and their whole family just seems really, like, I want to be friends with them. Hattie seems really funny. I mean, Nicole or Nicola, I think it's Nicole. She just seems hilarious. If you don't follow her on Twitter, you should, because she's always tweeting funny things. She's like adopted Yuki as well as a son, and she's always just making fun of Oscar. But anyway, I would have actually loved to see more of them this weekend, but not at that point, because that would have been heartbreaking. No driver has ever kept a podium at their home race. I know Daniel got a podium, but then he was later disqualified, so that didn't count. And it looked like, I mean, Oscar was en route for a win, nearly, if he got past Lando, and he ended up not even getting on the podium. So quite disappointing for him. Great recovery though. Obviously he's in the McLaren, but still a good recovery by the end of the race. Boxing then into intermediates, because they were sort of hoping to stick it out, and it didn't really work out that way. Max boxed at lap 46, and then Lawson and Bortoleto, two more rookies who were out, leaving just two rookies left. Bortoleto was quite similar to Hadjar, I believe, and Lawson had a bit of a mess before, and then he crashed out. So yeah, obviously not an easy first race for them. We had Behrman and Kimi Antonelli, the only two rookies left, which I don't think was very unexpected, because I think that was everyone's fear, like, this is going to be a mess because it's supposed to rain and we have this much rookies on the grid. But you know what? I'm impressed that they stuck it out that long. So yeah, then it happened that Oscar swung onto the grass. Lewis Hamilton swore on the radio. I don't know what he said. It was beeped out. But is he going to be in trouble for that? Because I haven't seen anything about that. I hope not, because that's a stupid rule. But is that going to be a problem? And if FIA just like didn't notice that, pretend I didn't say anything, because safety car then ended lap 51. Oscar did get moving again. Did I say that after his little swing at that point? And he reversed and he had to make his way back into the points, which he did. Gasly made a bit of a mistake as well, which let some cars through. Gasly was having a good race, but then that mistake pushed him out of the points completely, which was quite disappointing for Alpine after obviously losing doing earlier on in the race. DRS was enabled. Antonelli then overtook Albon, so he was to P4 at that point. He's just so impressive. Like, what is he doing? He's on a whole different level. But then he was noted for an unsafe release, I think, into the path of Nico Hülkenberg. And the investigation, obviously this was very near the end of the race, so it was noted, the investigation, a lot shorter than usual because it was like another lap, and it was pointed out that he got a penalty. So the FA obviously, which I sort of respect, they wanted to, I don't know, because obviously they need to take more time, but the information and the video that deemed his penalty reversed wasn't available at that time, so that's why the penalty was reversed. It was reversed. I haven't actually said that. He did finish P4 in the end. Obviously, the 5-second penalty dropped him behind Albon to P5, but he regained that, so that was good for him. And the race was definitely more tense then between Max and Lando. I think there was 0.5 between them coming up towards the last lap. I think still less than a second. I think there was still less than a second when the race ended, but Max did keep up. Obviously, the safety cars and all of the issues during the race helped with that. I think otherwise Lando and Piastri would have just run away with it, because the McLaren just seems to have so much more pace than that. And Piastri gets Hamilton. Where did Piastri finish? P9? I think Piastri might have finished P9, Hamilton P10. So that just shows, I mean, a bit of both. A bit of Piastri's racecraft and determination to get as much points as he can in his home race, but also just the speed at the McLaren to be able to get Hamilton in the Ferrari with so little time to try and do that. So quite impressed with Piastri for that. Stroll, again, I haven't really talked about him again because Stroll and George Russell as well, I haven't talked about them a lot because they've just had clean races, and I almost think that's more impressive, to just have like a clean hidden race where you still do well without like big things happening and stuff like that to you. So I think that was very impressive from Stroll to get the P6 in the Aston Martin, because Aston Martin did not look fast this weekend. And obviously his teammate DNF'd, Hulk P7 as well, with Bortoleto DNFing. So it's weird because it's not that weird for me to see Hulk in P7, but then I remember he's actually in the stake, the slowest car last year. So that's really impressive. And I think he would have been up there regardless of the amount of DNFs as well, because Hulk is just Hulk. That's it. And driver of the day, Lando. Rookie of the day, Kimi Antonelli. Should I do rookie? Yes, I'll do rookie of the day and driver of the day every week. The rookie of this race weekend was undoubtedly Kimi Antonelli. Rookie of the qualifying, though, Hadjar. Probably, yeah. I'll give it to Hadjar. Yeah, so that was the race. I don't think much happened after the race. Obviously, Kimi's penalty was reversed, as I said, and I haven't even watched all of the post-race interviews yet, but I haven't seen, I have my notifications on and nothing extreme has popped up. So all I've seen is that Red Bull are confuffled. I think Crofty said that today, and now I've just brought it into my vocabulary about how McLaren are so fast. And go McLaren, I guess. Should we go back to the Final Chicane Brain Game? I realised that I didn't actually give you the answer last week when I did my Final Chicane Brain Game. I can't remember what it was. Oh, it was find the relation between these three things, and the relation was that They are world champions with racing fathers who have raced in Formula 1, I think it was. So yeah, that was last week. This week though, the answer. So it says in the 9 German Grand Prix, Kimi Räikkönen had a disastrous pit stop, but why? What happened? Was the wrong tyre put on his car? Did he stop in the wrong pit box? Or was a tyre put on loose and it rolled off by the end of the pit straight? The answer was the wrong tyre was put on his car. So the crew put on a soft on the front and a hard on the back. And obviously you can't race like that. So he did box. He still finished 6th though. So it didn't completely, well, you know, he would have done better, but it didn't completely ruin his race. So first of all, feedback. Do you like the Final Chicane Brain Game, or would you rather me go back to doing riddles every week? Like part of the brain games, like riddle, it will be a riddle every now and again, but it'll also be like different stuff. So that's why I did it, because I thought maybe you would get bored with the riddle. But if you want me to go back to doing a riddle. Also, thank you so much to everyone who filled out my dissertation survey on the FIA. It's closed now because now I have to analyse my findings and everything like that and write my dissertation, which is due next month, I think. I think it is due next month actually, which is a little scary, but the Chinese Grand Prix is back next weekend, F1 Academy is back next weekend, and I hope all of you will be supporting it. I post like daily live as it's happening footage of the racing that goes on my TikTok, which I mentioned earlier. So if you want your updates on F1 Academy and Irish Motorsport and everything like that, you're more than welcome to follow my TikTok. Is that everything? I think that's everything. So yeah, thanks guys. Have a good St. Patrick's Day to all my Irish listeners, or if you're listening to this after, I hope you did have a good one, and I will see you next week. Bye.